Jake's first credit card arrived in the mail just 2 weeks after his 21st birthday. It came with a cheerful message. "Congratulations, you've been approved." At first, it felt like freedom. He bought concert tickets, a new phone, and dinners with friends, promising himself he'd pay it off next month. But next month quietly turned into next year. By the time Jake checked his balance again, the number shocked him. He wasn't just paying for what he had bought, he was paying for years of interest. Today, we're following Jake through 5 levels of credit card debt to reveal how one piece of plastic can slowly change an entire life. Level 1, $1 to $2,500. Jake had just started his first full-time job after college when his bank approved him for a credit card with a $2,500 limit. At first, he only used it for small purchases, a new pair of running shoes, dinners with friends, and concert tickets. Every month he made the minimum payment, believing the balance would disappear eventually. Since the monthly bill didn't seem very high, he stopped paying close attention. What Jake didn't realize was that interest quietly kept growing in the background. The debt never felt like an emergency, which made it easy to ignore. By the time he checked the balance seriously, it had become much harder to pay off than he ever expected. Level 2, $2,500 to $10,000. A year later, Jake had opened a second credit card to cover unexpected expenses after his car needed major repairs. Soon, vacations, holiday shopping, and everyday purchases also found their way onto his cards. Every month he faithfully made the minimum payments, feeling responsible because he never missed a due date. Then, one evening, he reviewed his statements and noticed something shocking. Even after paying hundreds of dollars over several months, his total balance had barely changed. Most of his payment had gone toward interest instead of reducing what he owed. That was the moment Jake realized he wasn't making progress. He was simply paying for the privilege of staying in debt. Level 3, $10,000 to $25,000. By his early 30s, Jake had accumulated nearly $18,000 in credit card debt. When he and his fiancée visited a mortgage lender, they were excited to buy their first home. Instead, the loan officer explained that Jake's high credit card balances and debt-to-income ratio made qualifying for a mortgage much more difficult. Driving home, Jake felt defeated. The debt wasn't just costing him money anymore, it was delaying the future he had been working toward. He even turned down a lower-paying job he would have loved because he couldn't risk earning less while carrying so much debt. His financial decisions were no longer driven by dreams. They were driven by monthly payments. Level 4, $25,000 to $50,000. At one point, Jake's credit card debt climbed above $35,000 after several difficult years that included unexpected medical bills and a period of unemployment. Every month, the payment due was so large that he felt anxious before even opening the statement. He began losing sleep, avoiding conversations about money with his wife, and saying no to family outings because he couldn't justify spending another dollar. Collection calls started appearing on his phone, and each ring made his heart race. Jake realized the worst part of debt wasn't the balance itself. It was the constant stress that followed him everywhere, making it difficult to enjoy the people and moments that mattered most. Level 5, debt-free. It took Jake almost 6 years of disciplined budgeting, extra weekend work, and countless sacrifices to eliminate every dollar of credit card debt. On the day he made his final payment, he didn't celebrate by buying something expensive. Instead, he took a quiet walk through his neighborhood with a sense of relief he had never experienced before. For the first time in years, his paycheck belonged to him instead of his creditors. He redirected the money that once paid interest into savings and investments, watching his future grow instead of his debt. Jake finally understood that true wealth isn't measured by what you can buy. It's measured by the financial freedom to choose your own future without debt holding you back. Jake eventually realized that credit cards were never the enemy. They were simply a financial tool. Used wisely, they offered convenience and rewards. Used carelessly, they quietly stole years of his future through interest and stress. Becoming debt-free wasn't about cutting up every credit card. It was about changing the habits that created the debt in the first place. Every payment Jake made brought him one step closer to freedom. If you're carrying credit card debt today, remember this: your current balance is not your final destination. One smart decision today can completely change your financial story tomorrow.